It is the lounge. It returns for the yearly tradition 286. It's David Schottenkirk. It's Marcus Traxler. Awaiting Charlie and Nathan, their last-minute preparations going over the Pittsburgh and Virginia schedules, trying to figure out what they're going to do here. Will they be bowl eligible? It's the college football preview. Marcus Schottenkirk. How's the summer been? It's been warm. It was warm. Kind of tapered off. We're at the end of the summer. Marcus, some trips for you. You had some baseball last week, and you got a trip coming up in a couple weeks. So, kind of wrapping up the summer for you.
Yeah, saw the Saints. I had gone my first 29 years of my life. Had never seen an affiliated minor league baseball game in person, and then in the span of basically 6 days, I saw two AAA games. So, saw the Saints, saw the Omaha Storm Chasers at home. I saw the Omaha Storm Chasers play the Saints in St. Paul, and went to the College World Series. That was awesome. Went to the U.S. Senior Open, also in Omaha. So that was good. The patriarch of the Traxler family, Gordy and Charlotte, came through on the suite last week and saw the Twins beat the brains out of the Rays 12-0. So that was cool. And going to Colorado for Labor Day weekend to see the Jackrabbits play Colorado State and check out the Rocky Mountain State. So that'll be fun.
Schottenkirk, your summer golf. What else?
Not a lot, honestly. With the heat, we had a couple trips. Went up north, went to the Parents Lake, did all the usual there. But I can't top Traxler Sporting Excursions. He's a man of the people, and from the College World Series, the U.S. Senior Open, everything else. But it's been too damn hot, and I think we finally might have broke it. So I'm ready for fall.
We need to be on record, too, that Schottenkirk and I had our annual summit at some sort of sporting event. That happened to be the 3M Open in July, so that was good. Got to we damn near got killed by a golf ball on a couple occasions.
Yeah. Goddamn Luke List.
Luke List. Shit. I was going to say, I couldn't remember the name. Luke List missed the goddamn green by about 35 yards. We were on kind of like a hill. It was the 15th hole we were watching, missed it by a mile, and then he came up there. There were probably like 6 people standing around because not really anybody's watching Luke List. And the one guy's like, "Yeah, you almost hit us," and Luke List's like, "Yeah, man, I don't care. Just I gotta I gotta get up and down here," and he didn't. I think he made bogey. So, but yeah, that was entertaining.
Oh boy, stack attack.
Technical difficulty. They should probably remove them for a while. Let's see. Remove.
Trying to
back in the game, folks. Back in the big chair. Nathan F. Stacken. Here he is, folks.
Indeed. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Here he is. Waiting on Charlie. Charlie's usually not the last one, so we'll wait on Charlie. Stacken, what's your summer been like? Vacations, lake time, line and kugels, whatever the fuck you're drinking, all this stuff.
Yep. It's been a busy summer. Some family vacations. We are entering perhaps our busiest stretch now with weddings. We have 2 weddings in September. Had a bachelor party last weekend. A lot of shit going on here. It's been less time at the lake, but we're looking forward to football starting. Let's put it that way.
Are these weddings on Fridays or Saturdays?
Saturday of Labor Day weekend, and then Saturday, September 25th. So no Fridays.
You need new friends. God damn it! Don't schedule fall weddings.
It's family. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
I will say, just in general, not even the fall wedding thing. I mean, I do agree with Shoddy on that, but you got to have some pretty big nuts to schedule a wedding on like a major holiday weekend. I'm sure everybody that's at that wedding would like to go do something else on Labor Day Saturday, but they all get to go to that wedding. So,
and I mean, I think COVID had something to do with it,
of course.
Of
course, I understand. Yeah, I've got a couple divorces I'm going to be at in September, so that'll be exciting. Because everybody celebrates that just as much, right?
Well, I mean, are you 12. Is that the divorce you're talking?
Oh man, very, very, very ugly. How are they going to split up the kids? It won't be amicable.
Think of the children.
How's your kid stacking?
He's good. Yeah, we're battling a cold right now. A cold and a big cough. He's off somewhere.
Have you been reading the Virginia Tech depth chart to him at night to put him to bed?
No, I don't want to give him nightmares. So
Yeah, it's bad enough. It's bad enough for the actual, real fans of Virginia Tech, let alone passing it on to your kinfolk.
I won't do that. I should show you this sweet shirt though I got. I'll maybe pull that out later. Here, it's not college football related, but
Okay.
Hi. Hey, speak of the devil. Hey, come over here, kid. Noah,
Here we go.
Noah, come here.
The first of many appearances.
What are we drinking?
Summer shandy.
Summer Shandy.
Summer shandy.
That's-
There will
that's
be-
good. That's
there
good
will
living
be-
right there.
There will be another beer coming out at some point from Bad Habit. Don't know which one, but it'll come out later in the show.
No. There we go.
Noah, come here, please.
He can,
Oh,
he can
never
talk.
mind.
He can talk now. That's exciting.
It is. Well,
Where's he gonna-
he made an appearance on the podcast a couple weeks ago and proudly announced to everyone that he farted. So that was cool.
Good.
Really
Is he gonna
appreciated
be
that.
Four in December.
And he will be 4 in December.
Oh boy, we're three and a half right now.
I'm gonna try and get some preschool picks for the NFL this year. We're gonna try and do that for the podcast. I don't know how that's gonna work, but we'll try
It can't be any worse than any other option. Honestly.
it.
Well, that's exciting. College football, we're back at it. Things are just trotting along here. We got a couple dog shit games next week, so we're about 2 weeks out from the real stuff.
Hey.
10 days out.
Don't besmirch Illinois, Nebraska, and Hawaii, UCLA.
Oh, dear. Big bowl implications in those games. You've got me and Stack and talked here, a week or so ago, about how maybe bored it's gotten with the playoff because you kind of know the 4 or 5 teams in it. Schottenkirk, you know the regulars: Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Anybody else that you like early on here to make a run?
Yeah, if I'm going to shoot my shot early, I'll go ahead and start it. I think we're going to get a couple surprises. I don't think it's going to be one. I think we're going to get 2. I got my eyes on Wisconsin in the Big Ten. Big time. I know the schedule's pretty tough early, but if they can get through September, they got a pretty good chance to be their undefeated in the Big Ten title game. And Ohio State, freshman quarterback, same with Alabama, redshirt freshman anyway, but Alabama and Clemson both have new quarterbacks. I think there's potential. Clemson's got a hell of a game in the opener against Georgia. If Georgia wins that game, you might see 2 SEC teams in the playoffs, unfortunately. But for one, Wisconsin, and a little sneaky out west too is the University of Washington. They schedule's pretty friendly, and again, you never know. And with a couple teams more susceptible this year, I want to see it. That I think I'm trying to speak it into existence anyway.
We really don't know a lot about Washington just because that was a major COVID impacted schedule and team from last year. So they are kind of an unknown in the Pac-12. I think, if you're looking maybe for a long shot, completely off the radar type team, they're going to be one to think about. You really think about the playoff, and I tend to agree. I think we're just we seem to be just ending up with the same teams when you're only taking 4, and you're going to have these powers that be in their conferences, Ohio State in the Big Ten, Oklahoma in the Big 12, certainly Alabama and Clemson in their respective conferences. I mean, it just sort of fills itself out. I think the major thing here is, we've heard now that there might be 12 here soon, maybe even a couple years away, at worst 5, when this TV contract ends. But that kind of hangs over this entire thing. It's hard to look at the 14 playoff and not think about what it would look like with 12 because that's out there. So that's just that kind of pall, I guess, hangs over this entire season. And the more you look at this, I'm sure we're going to talk about it as it goes, but I just think so much rides on that Clemson-Georgia game in week 1 because whoever wins is in the driver's seat. Whoever loses is not necessarily out if they can somehow obviously Clemson's got a good chance of running the table from that point forward in the ACC. Georgia does not have a bad chance of running the table, at least up until the SEC championship game when they would face Alabama or Texas A&M or whoever it might be. And I would echo what David said. Alabama, obviously, amazing program, in almost every case deserving of being number one, but they do have a lot of guys they got to replace. And we maybe take that as a foregone conclusion, but no guarantee it works out perfectly, especially when you're replacing the quarterback and that sort of thing. So, I'm eager for this to get going because I think having everybody going and potentially full stadiums, it will feel a little bit more like a normal fall.
Yeah, we were robbed last year of a normal college football season, and I hate that. I shouldn't say I hate to agree with him, but I like to agree with David Schottenkirk because it makes me feel better about myself. So I agree with you on Wisconsin. I think the only game that could trip them up is going to be Notre Dame. And in fact, I think Notre Dame has a very daunting schedule the first half, but if they can get through October Halloween, because that's the last game they play UNC, and then they have Navy, Virginia, Georgia Tech, and Stanford. I tell you, Notre Dame, I think, is a team to watch out for to make the college football playoff. And just speaking Pac-12, I think Arizona State could be that sneaky team. They're Jaden Daniels, very good quarterback. I think Arizona State's a team on the outside of like the top 15, whatever, that could make a run at the college football playoff.
Yeah, that Pac-12 South's actually pretty damn good this year. USC, Utah, and Arizona State are all right there. USC has to go to Tempe pretty late in the year. That could be a big game. USC gets Utah at home. That should be advantageous for them. But everyone likes to make fun of the Pac-12 for obvious reasons. Well-deserved, but there are more than just 2 or 3 decent teams. There's probably 3 or 4 good teams, legitimately good teams. It'll be interesting to see if one can actually rise out of the rest of them and make a playoff appearance. We'll see. I have my doubts, but
Notre Dame absolutely has a schedule to be a team that makes a run at the playoff. But you look at those middle sort of 6 games. You got Wisconsin, Cincinnati. Wisconsin is, as you guys said, at a neutral site in Chicago. Virginia Tech is probably the easiest one of that stretch. You got to bye. Then you host USC. You host North Carolina. Those are going to be tough games.
One of the bigger things with the Notre Dame schedule too, I think Stacken saw that on Twitter a few nights ago, or whatever, is how many teams they face off of a bye this year. It's almost reminiscent to Alabama. Was that 2010 or 2011? And Notre Dame's going to be good. They're going to win a lot of games. They're not making the playoffs. They're going to stumble once or twice. You can take that to the bank.
All those 5 games we just mentioned, they're all off a bye.
Exactly.
Wisconsin's off a bye. Cincinnati's off a bye. Virginia Tech's off a bye. USC and North Carolina. Phil Steele for the win, of course, because he notes that in the book. But that's crazy. And they've had 4 straight 10-win seasons. I mean, I think that's where Notre Dame expects to be. But in 2016, they were 4-8. They will not be 4-8 this year, probably, but they're going to be closer to that, certainly, because I agree with David. Probably a good team, tough schedule, 8-9 wins sounds about right.
I'm going to call my shot right now. Whoa. Notre Dame is going to be undefeated headed into granted, it will be very early, but they're going to go into that game against Wisconsin, lot riding on the line there. They're going to lose to Wisconsin barely. And Brian Kelly, in his post-game press conference, is going to say, we're on to Cincinnati.
There we go.
All right.
Now,
the other thing you can say is that it's very easy to look at the schedule and just like put down the games right now where College Game Day is going to be. September 25th, they're going to be at Wisconsin, Notre Dame. I'm sure the first real weekend they're going to be at Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, Texas A&M. Put it in stone right now. So I'm sure maybe you could do that every year, but those ones just sort of all jumped off the page at me right now because there are some mega games in those first 6 weeks of the season that
I'm wondering though, will they be at Notre Dame, Wisconsin, because Fox is going to have their pregame show there? Like, will they try and double up at the same site?
I don't know who's carrying that game. I assumed it was probably an
Fox.
NBC game.
No, it's Fox.
Okay,
Fox is carrying Wisconsin, Notre Dame.
there you go.
Georgia, Clemson. I think Georgia's got to win that because there's no reason why Clemson should lose after that. Their schedule not good.
Yeah, ACC is not great. North Carolina's interesting. Got a great quarterback.
I don't think they play Miami or North Carolina. I don't think they play either.
Clemson doesn't. Clemson's
Right.
Clemson's road schedule in the ACC. They play NC State. They play Pitt. They play Syracuse. They play Louisville. They've never played at Pitt. Clemson had never played at Pitt. You know, that just tells you how bonkers this ACC schedule is. Yeah, they don't play anybody. The only game that's going to be a reasonable challenge for them on the road is NC State on September 25th, and they beat them by 45 points 2 years ago when they played them. So I'm not foreseeing that being a problem.
So if they lose to Georgia week 1, are they out of the playoff?
No.
Like if they run the rest of the table the rest of the way, you think so?
Because they'll have the best loss of anybody, Georgia. There'll be one loss.
Assuming Georgia does what they're supposed to do after they beat Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so we're kind of talking about this. I think there's kind of like a chance for a one-loss Armageddon, so to speak, where you could have Georgia beat Clemson. Clemson would have one loss. You know, if Georgia's undefeated all the way to the SEC championship game, they play Texas A&M or Alabama. That team wins that game. Okay, Georgia has one loss. The winner of that game will obviously be an SEC champ, but they could have had one loss if it's not the team. Those two teams playing in late September. So Alabama, Texas A&M thinks they're going to be pretty good. So how do you sort of unwind that mess? And you could have the same thing happen with Wisconsin and Ohio State. Where they both could be a one-loss team. I don't know that we've necessarily had like 5 or 6 one-loss teams all shooting it out in the playoffs. It seems like it's always been a little clearer than that. So I'm curious what you guys think about that.
I think that's a great point because you're going to have a bunch of SEC teams with only one loss, like Alabama. Maybe they lose to A&M or at Florida. You're going to have Georgia if they can beat Clemson. If they trip up somewhere down the line, well, and then if Clemson only has that one loss, well, I would take Georgia over Clemson because they beat Clemson on a neutral field. So, you're going to look at a lot of other teams like potentially Oklahoma if they trip up against either Texas or an Oklahoma State, Iowa State throughout the year, Wisconsin, Ohio State. Maybe there is one team in the Pac-12 that has one loss. So I think it's almost more of a must-win for Clemson in that first week, because if they don't win, that one loss could end up tripping them up when you look at their resume versus all other teams with one loss.
Pac-12's no good, but I would say the only difference between them and the Big 12 is the Big 12 has Oklahoma and the Pac-12 doesn't. Everybody else about the same. Difference between the Pac-12
I would strongly disagree with that this year.
I would say like in the past 5 years.
Okay. Well, for sure. Yeah.
I would say though that
it's the same thing with Clemson. They've got a Clemson, ACC, nobody else. The Pac-12 just doesn't have that Oklahoma or a Clemson.
But kind of what we're talking about here, and we've obviously seen it already in the playoff, is that the pressure is on for a Big 12.
Oregon's that team.
It needs to be Oklahoma might have to run the table because if you just have this pile up of one-loss teams, now I would guess that they probably would get in just because they're Oklahoma and they are a name brand. But I think, there is the pressure on there to run the table. You maybe have a situation where they're going to play Iowa State, twice in 3 or 4 weeks. I think it's just a really interesting scenario. And I think the same could be said for the Pac-12. There's a lot of good teams there, but who exactly is going to emerge to be sort of that one team that has a shot at the playoff? It's hard to say.
There's distinct routes. There hasn't been distinct routes for multiple Pac-12 teams in a while, but there is this year. And again, they've eaten themselves alive. But a Pac-12 team or the Big 12 with Oklahoma or potentially Iowa State, if they want to have a team in the playoffs, end of story, they have to be unbeaten this year, because the way the schedule plays out elsewhere, a one-loss Wisconsin, a one-loss Ohio State, a one-loss Georgia, one-loss A&M, Clemson, they're all going to get in over a one-loss Oklahoma or Oregon, USC, anybody out there. So I think roundabout way, I think a lot of the athletic directors and the brass in some of these bigger programs, they kind of want chaos this year, because that might expedite this move to 8 or 12 teams, and they might get their wish too.
Well, the other thing I would say, and I kind of lost my train of thought, now I have it. Iowa State, they play Iowa. That's a team that I don't think Matt Campbell has beaten in his time as Iowa State's coach. So they got to have that one.
They're going to do it this year.
Iowa's good. I mean, it should be a good ball game. And then you've got Oklahoma, and I can say this before Charlie gets here. Their toughest non-conference game is Nebraska, and they should win that game. So they really have no margin for error. It's not like they have that big non-conference opponent against a team that's Iowa, I think preseason is in the top 20. They might be higher by the time Iowa State gets to play them, but they're not, what kind of non-conference opportunities are they going to have? Not a ton compared to what we know, Clemson and Georgia are going to have. We know Wisconsin's going to have. We know some of these other teams where their non-conference is really good, and that puts the pressure on the Big 12 to be on it from the start. And we do need to have the disclaimer that there's always upsets. We lay out this plan, and then all of a sudden you got Kansas State beating Oklahoma, and you got whoever else beating Clemson, and I guess that's always possible. But
speaking of Kansas State, I think in the Big 12, it's Oklahoma and everyone else. I can't quite buy into Iowa State being a true top 10 team. I think that's unfamiliar territory for them. Not that they can't do it. They have a good quarterback, good running back, coming back. So I think Iowa State's going to be right in the mix. But I'm curious to know what you guys think of Kansas State. Chris Klieman, I think, is in now year 3. I think, are they kind of building towards something there where they can compete with the Iowa States this year? No. Okay, never mind.
I mean, they've shown they can.
Not this year.
They've shown they can jump up and get these wins, so that's always possible. But as far as being a 10-win team this year, it doesn't seem like that's there. They have a good defense, but it seems like they got some work to do depth-wise to get to the point where they're competing. With Iowa State and Oklahoma.
Just got the Kansas State schedule pulled up in front of me. They start with Stanford. That's a tough game. Stanford's a little bit better than people think they are. Kansas State should win that game, but it's no guarantee.
Isn't that game in a weird? Where's that game at?
That's
Arlington, Texas.
Yeah. What an interesting place for that game.
Southern Illinois the next week. We know what Southern Illinois is. If Kansas State doesn't beat Southern Illinois, they're fucked. Week after that, September 18th, Nevada. Nevada's got more than likely the number 1 overall pick at quarterback playing for them this year.
Colin Kaepernick?
Carson's strong, but I don't see Kansas State winning more than about 7 games max.
So stacking out.
I got him at 9-3, just for the record.
There you go.
Got it.
Oh, so Kansas State, you like them? Anybody else like Iowa State to win 9-10? Do I hear 9?
Yeah,
I'll say 10. They're winning 10 games. They're really good. They're really, really good. They're going to give Oklahoma a game. I think Oklahoma's the best team in the conference, but that's going to be a hell of a game.
I think they'll win 9 or 10 games. I did circle the at Kansas State, at West Virginia, at Oklahoma. Those are 3 tough places to win. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose 2 of those, and obviously that sinks your dreams of getting to the playoff. But I agree with David; they are really good. They're ready to be a contender. I put them in the ball of wax that I would have put Minnesota in 2 years ago, where it's like you need everything to go right and then some to get into the playoff. And I just don't see that happening for
potential spoiler alert for later on with some picks here. But I've been probably 6 weeks or the last 2 months. Iowa State's super good, but unfortunately for them, I think this is the best Oklahoma team that we've seen since Lincoln Riley got there. And Oklahoma's defense, finally, a legitimate defense to go with all the returning pieces they have on offense. They're going to be very, very tough to beat.
Yeah, I have Iowa State at 9-3, losing road games at Kansas State, West Virginia, and Oklahoma. But I mean, if you all don't think that Kansas State's quite as good, then give them 10 wins. Maybe they beat West Virginia. Maybe that gives them an 11th win. But I mean, it's tough.
Other team in the top 10 that's kind of not usually in the top 10?
Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia.
North Carolina?
North Carolina, the other team I'm looking at, their schedule not very difficult either. They've got a quarterback of note. Are we buying them to be a 10-win team?
If they hadn't lost all the offensive firepower that they did from last year's squad, with a couple of receivers and running backs, because obviously Sam Howell's incredibly good. Mac Brown's got the recruiting humming on Chapel Hill. They're kind of trendy for some people. I think that they have a chance to knock off Clemson and have UNC win the ACC. I just don't see it. I think they lost a little bit too much, even with the good quarterback play that they're going to have. Moving forward, if Matt keeps on doing what he's doing, and if they can get potentially another quarterback in there after Howell leaves, I think sky's the limit for them. They might truly become that 1-1A with Clemson. And yes, I'm serious. They're crushing it on the recruiting trail. Mac's got it going for right or wrong, but unfortunately not this year.
I have them at 11-1, losing only at Notre Dame.
There you go.
I think it's weird that I'm going to say this, given that we have a Virginia Tech fan in the room here, but that first game at Virginia Tech is going to be interesting to watch.
Yes,
obviously North Carolina should win the game. That shouldn't be the issue.
That's
Tech, go ahead, David.
That's a 4-point spread. UNC is only a 4-point favorite in that game.
Okay, and Friday night game at Virginia Tech. Justin
I
Fuente.
think it's been like 12, 13 years since they've beaten a top 10 team or something like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
Justin Fuente has not done really anything of note at Virginia Tech. You want to get some people's attention, beat North Carolina right off the bat, and let's see something happen with the Hokies. Now, I'm not going to pick them to necessarily win that game, but
nor should you.
Nor should I. But yeah, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on that first weekend, because that's, and first time, I'm reading it right out of Phil Steele's book. First time North Carolina has opened with an ACC road game in 16 years, and they didn't win that game. That was Georgia Tech. So, but I have that we are jumping around here, but I'm just going to get it right into my spiel. They do have that game against Miami. I think we're in agreement that there's no really other contenders in the ACC other than Clemson and North Carolina. If you want to put Miami in there, fine. Let's see if they don't get killed by Alabama in the opener. That game in the middle of October should tell us who the other team to play Clemson in the championship game will be. And, they'll at least have a shot at Clemson at that point. So
I do think that game against Virginia Tech for North Carolina to begin the season is going to be a lot more challenging than perhaps some people think, just because, Blacksburg is one of the more difficult places to play in the country, and they had no fans last year. So you better believe that stadium is going to be electric. Enter Sandman is going to be playing. The whole crowd's going to be absolutely electric. So I think that is going to be a tough game, but I think North Carolina's talent, they had a lot of skilled guys go in the draft this year, but you have Sam Howell, you have the best quarterback on the field. I think that will be enough. I think North Carolina wins that game. I'll say 28-20.
Kind of an interesting, spicy Friday night too, because UNC and Virginia Tech play, I think, 5:00.
Yep.
And then we have our the night before, Gophers and Ohio State. But that opening weekend, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, not so much. But there's at least one interesting game every day of that entire weekend. So
don't forget South Dakota State, Colorado State to cap off Friday night.
Go hard on it.
Yeah, one of those weekends where you shouldn't have to really plant yourself anywhere but your couch. So that's pretty good.
Except if you have a wedding.
Yeah, then you're out.
Man. You look at you don't look at last year because it was last year, but you look at 2019, LSU killed everybody. Going into the bowl games, we had 3 undefeated teams and 1 team with 1 loss. So that was pretty easy to pick who the playoff was going to be. In 2018, you had 3 undefeated teams, so they get in. And then you had 2 teams with 1 loss. So basically, it came down to pick one of those 2 teams. Then in 2017, you had 5 teams with 1 loss. So basically, 2019 there's no debate. 2018 and 2017 there was maybe debate between who got that 4th spot. So we will see again. Alabama new quarterback, Ohio State new quarterback, Clemson new quarterback. So we'll see how big of a difference that is for those teams that are always in there.
Yeah, these things do seem to play themselves out with the 4 teams, and I know.
And with the playoffs, we've only had a couple of years where it's like, okay, is this team getting in, or is it this team? And usually the debate's not much of a debate. Like we know what it is.
And I know I've said this before. If we go to 8, the controversy will be between 8 and 9. If we go to 12, it'll be between 12 and 13. We have not really talked since the 12. At least as this group, the 12 has been the one that's been put forward. The more you read about it, the more you look at it, the more I like it. I mean, the more it seems to make a lot of sense. I'm kind of eager for it to get here. It would be great if that sort of quarterfinal round game was on campus stadiums, and maybe they can still figure out a way to make that work and not have it be tied to the Bulls. But there's a lot to like there, I think. Love it.
Stacking, when we talked Stacking, you were not a huge fan of the 12?
No.
Have your thoughts changed on the 12?
Not really. I wish they would take just 8, take the top, the 5 conference winners, and then 3 at-large teams. I think that would be 5 Power 5, the one non-Power 5, and then two wild cards. I think 8 would be
the top 5 conference winners.
Yeah, I like that it's not tied to specific leagues. So if the Big 12 is a big pile of garbage and it makes more sense to take the American winner at Cincinnati, yeah, that's awesome.
How much does the Texas and Oklahoma move? How much does that affect things in this playoff? Because you'd expect the SEC will get 2 in every year.
If it goes to 12, they're gonna get 3 in every year the way they're going. But
I mean, I look at it, 3 or 4. It sure seems. I mean, because it's just how are you going to – and that – I don't know. I don't seem to be as much of a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot of people that are connecting, the SEC, ESPN. Obviously, ESPN has a playoff, and, people are just drawing the line right there that it's in ESPN's best interest to have as many SEC teams in as they can. I don't know if – I mean, it probably is the case, but I don't necessarily believe that. And, it is going to be something to watch.
The conspiracy theory with Texas and Oklahoma, and it's been talked about before, and I have been one to fall victim to these theories before, but I honestly believe the day Texas and Oklahoma officially join the SEC, we are miles closer to the super conferences and the NCAA being basically non-existent and out of the picture.
Yeah, we've got this alliance thing coming between the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12. We'll see if anything really comes of that. It's hard to say if it will, but you can tell that they know they need to group up basically against the SEC and have kind of their stuff together. I think at the end of the day, the Texas and Oklahoma thing, it just kind of sucks. I mean, it's going to be good for the SEC. It's going to be good for those schools to get paid, but I don't care about that. And, as somebody who watches college football, college basketball, I don't care about that either. So it's just takes kind of a lot of steam out of what we really love about the sport. And, those other teams, I think that, the leftovers, I guess, in the Big 12, they need to work as quickly as they can to bring on the best teams from the American and just make the most of it. That'd be my way of approaching it. I know they're not going to do that, but it just kind of stinks, the conference realignment part.
One step further on that, and again, it's a lot of theory and a lot of what ifs, but if the rest of the country's not careful and Texas, Oklahoma go and moves don't start happening, if anybody doesn't think that the SEC is going to go try to pluck Ohio State, go pluck Clemson, go pluck Oregon, go pluck USC and create their own super conference and give the deuces to the rest of the country. It's all about money. And obviously it's about money, and you want these marquee programs. And they get who says they're going to stop at 20 or 24. They're going to get who they want when they want because money talks.
Well, the flip side of that, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, Ohio State makes more sense geographically than Oklahoma does,
Right.
in the current setup. But I think we absolutely could have USC and UCLA go independent and just say, "Yep, we're going to do Notre Dame's thing." There's certain schools in the Big Ten that have an ability to do that. Now, I think the Big Ten is probably the most connected group of schools of all of these together, so it seems maybe most unlikely, but no question that Ohio State and Michigan are looking at the picture saying, well, we're the ones pulling the freight for Purdue, Northwestern, and Rutgers. It should have been the ultimate red flag when it was just like, well, we're going to get the TV markets of Washington and New York so that we can sell those. We don't really care about the quality of the team or the school. The jig has been up on conference realignment for a while. It's just now as blatant as it's ever been. That's all.
And allow me to say, I'm not looking forward to the potential of the super conference. I love traditions of college football just as much as you guys do, and I would hate to see it go by the wayside. But we're running down that track at a pretty fast clip right now.
But if that's going to happen, let's just get to it and let's redraw the lines and let's not have kind of this fractured thing. Because in some ways it's like let's take things out back and end it if that's what we have to do for this current setup. There's also I know there's probably like 40 years of documented history of saying the NCAA is going to shrivel up and die, and for all the things that it sucks at, and there's a lot of them, that hasn't happened yet. So because college football, it's not organized. There's not one common interest. It's a regional sport. It always has been. As much as you want it to be a national sport, it's not, and that's why the SEC has been as dominant as it has. And it just becomes that much more difficult to get everybody on the same page with the same plan because you got 130 different interests in Division I football, Division I A football, FBS, so to speak.
The FBS, the 1AAs, the top tier. There we go. Quick yes or no, Schottenkirk, does the Big 12, once this thing gets done, is the Big 12 around in a couple years or no? Is there a Big 12?
No, it's dissolved.
Marcus?
Yeah, I think it goes away. Four is a much cleaner number as far as power conferences go than 5. So
Stacking?
Nope, they aren't around.
They go away. Okay. The rivalries, I mentioned this to you, Stacking, a couple weeks ago about the rivalries with the Big 12 and whatever, and how, Oklahoma and Texas, that's the big rivalry, so that'll stay intact and they'll move over. And, what other rivalry are we missing? We've got Oklahoma State. And other than that, you're going to get Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, Oklahoma, Florida.
Texas hates all the other teams in its state. They don't really want to – and they get Texas A&M back. They're not
whatever you lose in the Big 12, whatever that is that does the SEC, does all of those new games outweigh whatever we're missing?
I think Oklahoma
for sure.
Yeah, I think only Oklahoma State would be the only game that would be a significant loss.
The kind of off topic, but not really. But year one, whenever Texas gets in the SEC, if they don't have the balls, send them to College Station week 1. Send them to College Station week fucking 1. Let's go.
What Texas ebbs and flows. What's the likelihood of them they're barely competitive now? They went to the Sugar Bowl.
I think they're going to look like they're going to look like
they're going to go to the SEC. Fuck, and they could be better than Kentucky. I mean, Jesus Christ.
They'll be 7 or 8 wins.
They're going to be Ole Miss, Auburn.
Is that good enough for them? I mean,
no, absolutely not. No.
Best team.
You don't change leagues. You don't go from being one of the 2 top dogs in a league to a bigger league without some big nuts and some ideas that we're not worried about the competition. Well, you should be worried about the competition because you haven't even been dominating the little pond you've been in before. So,
what's keeping them from turning it into Nebraska? I don't know if you want to go that extreme, but
talent.
7 wins, 8 wins. That's not going to be good enough for them.
I feel like Texas is the Michigan of the South, except their fans are a little more delusional than than Michigan.
I think they're neck and neck, those two fan bases.
And I would say that in Michigan, I would say Michigan has been better than they have over this stretch. As much as people want to shit on Michigan, at least Michigan's been, they can't beat Ohio State, but Texas has trouble with Oklahoma every year. So
yeah.
I figured we would be going conference by conference, but since you brought up Michigan, this is Jim Harbaugh's 7th year. He's been 49-22.
He's out. He's out after this year. Period.
Unless he beats Ohio State, and that's not going to happen.
That ain't happening.
Nope, not happening.
Which is amazing. He could go 10-2, and he might not keep his job. Yeah.
What's Michigan done? Going back to the Notre Dame deal, they got a game on Peacock this year, I believe.
Toledo.
Those fucking bastards.
Yep. First week.
Is that? I believe that'll be a trend here pretty soon somehow. Streaming services. I don't know
if you want fewer people to watch games, then by all means stream them. You could talk about the money and stuff, like that's where, and streaming services are gaining a whole lot of traction between Peacock, Paramount, Discovery, plus all these other. But I mean, that's not the way that people are going to watch a lot of these games. So I would bet the audience for that game would be 50% at most of what they would get on NBC at most.
But they know that. Right. They know that if they can get people to pay $10 a month, or even use up their free trial of Peacock to watch the game, they think.
But I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
I mean, is Notre Dame Toledo getting people all fired up on this weekend where there's all these great games? I don't think
absolutely not.
I think there's sort of this miscalculation being made. I'm not a TV executive, but
this just in.
What a stunner! But conferences are getting money from TV networks based on the broadcast TV value. And I don't know that conferences are going to be willing to take less money just because, we're going to put, these games on a streaming service. They want more money. The Big Ten's going to be renegotiating their deal here very soon. And I'm sure there'll be a streaming element in there somewhere between Fox and whoever gets it. They're not going to take less. Like the Big Ten mastered the cable thing with the Big Ten Network, and cable's shrinking, but the streaming, capturing the streaming market is just a lot harder to find. It's kind of like whack-a-mole, and it seems like it's so much more fractured. I'm on Netflix, Stacken's on Paramount Plus, Schottenkirk's on Peacock, Travis is on ESPN Plus. That's harder to get rather than all of us have cable. There's 4 people, we have them. That's just a lot more difficult to get.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. 20 years later, we got them. We're out.
With the streaming, like you saw UFC leave Fox, leave broadcast networks, all that stuff, and go to ESPN Plus for the most part. Way less viewers, but for more money.
And I don't know if you've seen the recent news on that, but ESPN Plus has been crushing it this last year or so. So it took a while, but the UFC moved. Yeah.
The one big thing ESPN Plus has, though, is they just have, like, as a sports fan, they have way more stuff to offer than any of these other platforms we've been talking about. Yep. They got soccer. They do have the Big 12 right now, whatever that's going to be worth in 3 years, but they've got the Big 12 right now. They've got, obviously all these college sports. They got the UFC. They have some baseball. They have some NHL. They'll have more of it here later this year. So for $6 a month or whatever the hell you pay for it, that's not all bad.
They cater to a specific market or a specific, specific market, specific personality. Audience, thank you. Whereas like Peacock or Paramount or say, oh, look, we have all of these things for you. Well, I mean, just because maybe I want to watch The Office. I don't. I hate The Office. But like you know what? That's not the first time you will say that. Anyway, but like, if you have all those DVDs, then why do you need to stream The Office and stuff? Like, whereas ESPN Plus, specific audience because they only do live sports.
I think there's. It's funny because I have NBCS on right now from the race. I haven't changed it, but it's funny that they kind of like made their name probably 5 years ago or 6 years ago because they catered to that niche of European soccer fans, English soccer fans. And now they have alienated those same people by moving half the matches to Peacock or whatever the number is. And I just find it ironic that now they're shutting the network down. It seems like their whole calculation is misguided. And I kind of enjoy it.
Do we have a off topic? Do we have a date that NBCSN is actually shutting down for sure?
I thought it was December 31st.
It sounds like it might survive into 2022 a little bit.
Good. Keep it going.
Well, if they were smart, they would keep it through the Winter Olympics and then take it down.
Yeah.
That would make
with
sense.
The streaming, SEC network, I'm sure ESPN makes it worth their while. And how many, if the SEC says we're going to break off, we're going to have our own streaming network, we're going to put everything on this, we're going to charge you $10 a month, how many people would they get to, ESPN probably makes it worth their while not to do that. So we'll see with that. Going back to Michigan, Harbaugh on the hot seat. First 2 years he went 10-3. Went to the Citrus Bowl, Orange Bowl. Good. Went 8-5. Went to the Outback Bowl. 10-3, another 10-win year. Went to the Peach Bowl. 9-4 2 years ago. Went to the Citrus Bowl. So he's on the hot seat, and they've been in the top 10 for a lot of that time. Last year was not good, but again, this is this not like kind of what? This is peak Michigan. This is as good as they can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like what else? I mean, I don't think they're going to get better than this. Like 10 wins, that's 10 wins for Michigan. That's as good as you're going to get. I think.
To them, though, unfortunately, they're so delusional that they don't think that's good enough. And the trajectory of Harbaugh at this point, when he was there, some thought that, hey, he was going to be doing to Ohio State what Ohio State's doing to him. So it's just the Ohio State factor. It's just, you get there at a time Ohio State decides, hey, by the way, we're still going to continue to fuck you every year. And Harbaugh's a good coach, but when you're losing out on recruits, you're losing every year on the field. You're losing Michigan State randomly, rather consistently. Penn State, you got Indiana popping up out of nowhere. I mean, it's just he hasn't been perfect, but he's getting the short end of the stick a little bit. But this year, he has to win 10 games, and 10 games might not be enough, but I see them winning 6-7 games. They don't do anything for me.
I have them at 8-4, and that might be generous.
They better beat Washington week 2, otherwise they're fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
They were 2-4 last year. If you they didn't play Ohio State, so give them a win for that because that means you didn't lose. But you could also look at it from the standpoint of they went to triple overtime with Rutgers and barely won that game, so they could have been 1-5. Nobody outside of the SEC wanted to fire a coach during COVID, but I bet Michigan had to be damn close because, their expectations are inordinately high. Lloyd Carr, I guess, was what he was, but he got into the Rose Bowl a bunch, and I'm sure that's, that they're longing for that. But the way it's set up right now, you don't get there unless you beat Ohio State. They're just in the way. And as David said, they're not winning any matchups with Ohio State. They're not winning them on the roster. They're not winning them in recruiting, and they're not winning them on the field. And when that's the only game that matters, I don't know what you do about that. And they haven't been very good against Michigan State either. So that doesn't help.
And not to keep pounding here, but week 2 they play Washington. You guys know how I feel about Washington from a half hour ago. They go to Wisconsin. They go to Michigan State. They go to Michigan State, like Traxler said. They don't play Michigan State all that well. They go to Happy Valley, Penn State in November, and then have Ohio State. So those 5 games, they'll be lucky to win 2 of those 5 games.
And don't forget Indiana coming to town.
Right, right. Oh, yeah.
They have a bye right in the middle of the schedule, and then, Northwestern, at Michigan State, Indiana, at Penn State, at Maryland, Ohio State. They'll be lucky to go 2-4 or 3-3 in that stretch.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this about Harbaugh. Okay, 5. You don't count last year, so he's got 5 years. He's got 18 losses in those 5 years.
Yeah.
5 of them obviously to Ohio State's, and 4 of them in the bowl game. So
it's just the fact, and I totally get where you're coming from. And yes, he's had success, but in the biggest games, in the games that Michigan fans want to take that next step, hasn't taken that next step. And I think, combined the last 2 years in particular before last year. I think he's lost to Ohio State by like 54 points on the field in 2 games. Nah, that doesn't do it for him.
Yeah, double overtime loss. That was the line to gain game in 16, and then they lost by 11 in 17. They lost 62-39 in 18, and they lost by 28 in 2019, and then didn't play last year. So I come back to, and this is the same thing I would say with any coaching changes. Who do you think you're going to get that's better? And
You're not going to get anyone.
I don't know who's out there right now that you could get that's better. And really, the only thing that matters is recruiting. Urban Meyer, better recruiter than
find a goddamn quarterback. Jesus Christ.
Well, then no quarterback.
Find a fucking quarterback, Mr. Quarterback guy. Goddamn.
Well, that's like Alabama trying to find a kicker. It just doesn't happen.
But and the funniest thing is like you getting a quarterback like how Jim Harbaugh played and what he had at Stanford, and for God's sakes, Andrew Luck at Stanford, but finding a quarterback for how he played and what kind of system he runs, it's not in style. And then when he's tried to adjust to other quarterbacks, that hasn't worked out either. And yeah, Ohio State and quarterbacks are going to be the demise of his run at Michigan. But I come back to who are you going to get that's better? And I don't know that they can answer that.
They can't get anyone.
I keep talking about Michigan, even though I hate Michigan, even though they haven't done anything to make me hate them recently.
I kind of like them.
And taking it 3 steps further here, if Iowa State has a good year and wins 10 games like they're supposed to, and Michigan struggles, it's Matt Campbell's job if he wants it.
But do you think Matt Campbell can recruit better than Ryan Day? Because I don't think he can.
No.
He can't, but
you got to try something.
He would take that job in a heartbeat, though.
No, he would. My whole point is I'm not sure the losing is going to stop anytime soon.
Right.
Unless you go get Urban Meyer. See how that works.
Yeah, good luck. He's got Trevor Lawrence, so fuck that.
He does have Trevor Lawrence.
Well, to your point, too, Traxler, you were talking about Lloyd Carr getting Michigan to the Rose Bowl every time. It's kind of the same thing with the Gophers. They were thinking, Glenn Mason, consistently getting the Gophers to 8 wins, and then they're like, no, we need more than that, and then they sucked for a decade.
The coaches that got the Gophers to the Rose Bowl are dead, I believe. I think Murray Warmath is gone. So,
right. What I'm saying is, they kept getting 8 wins.
I know
they were consistent, and Gopher fans are like, no, we're better than this. We deserve more. No, you don't.
And you know what? Helps kick him out the door is
that's me rowing the boat, by the way. PJ.
A 35-point lead in a bowl game will help get you fired too. So
yeah, that's true.
To wrap up the Michigan deal, you look at Harbaugh, 5 years, he's lost 9 games in 5 years. If you don't count this in the regular season, if you don't count the Ohio State games, he's lost 9 games in 5 years. Not bad.
So you're saying you would keep him probably.
I'd keep him, and then the one you lost to the Michigan State, the weird loss there. So yeah,
that was weird.
Not bad. You're not beating Ohio State, so kind of look at that. 9 losses in 5 years in the regular season to non-Ohio State teams. One of them, the fluky one to Michigan State. So we'll see I'd give them at least one more year, even if they go 6-7 wins. I'll give them another one here. You got the Gophers. They had the great year 2 years ago. I don't imagine they'll ever have a year like that anytime soon. I don't know. And what are the expectations this year? And I feel like that year is going to buy him quite a bit of rope here, because it was the best Gopher season of our lifetimes. I would say
they're going to win 8 games this year. Boom! I'll say it.
I'm agreeing with you. 8-4.
I think 8-4 would be a great season for the Gophers. I would take that right now.
They have an offensive line. They have a defensive line. When's the last time you can say that about a Gophers team? They have legit D-line and O-line.
That's a big deal. They've got a couple transfers on the defensive line that hopefully will make a difference.
Mo Ibrahim, one of the best running backs in the country.
Yeah, they have good running backs. The receivers, Chris Ottman-Bell, we know he's solid, and then try to figure it out after that. And really, they have Tanner Morgan, which we saw 2 years ago. He can be a capable quarterback. He had 30 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. If you do that this year, you're in the conversation for another season like you had 2 years ago. He did not have a good year last year. I hope this team was vaccinated. I don't know to what degree that they have been. Every coach is being pretty vague about this, but that they were completely, taken apart by COVID last year. So I hope that some progress has been made on that front. They've obviously played Ohio State in the first game. They're not going to win that game. I'd love for them to win it, but I don't see a path that that's going to happen.
Take the points.
Yeah, I mean, 13.5 points or 14 points, whatever it is right now. I might have to get some grease on that. And then after that, you go to Colorado. That's your one challenging road game.
W.
And you go down the list. There's a bunch of winnable conference games, and then you finish the season with Iowa and Indiana, and then you host Wisconsin. Those other 2 games being on the road. So, chance you could be 8-1. I don't think they will be. They'll probably be 7-2, maybe 6-3. 7-2 would be good if that's where they're at heading into those final 3 games. Try to win 1 or 2 of those and get to 8 or 9 wins. I think that'd be a success.
Ohio State's a loss. Miami's a win. Colorado's kind of a coin flip. It's a win in my book. Bowling Green's a win. That's 3-1. At Purdue's kind of a coin flip, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. 4-1. Nebraska 5-1. Maryland 6-1. At Northwestern, I'm gonna say they lose that game 6-2.
Yep.
They beat Illinois. That's 7-2. At Iowa, they were this close to beating Iowa in 2019. This close. Iowa's kind of sneaky in the West. It's a close game. Iowa's probably going to win that game. And then you have to beat either Indiana or Wisconsin. I think they can.
I agree. I have them beating at Indiana in Bloomington, losing both to Iowa and Wisconsin, losing at Northwestern, and then losing to Ohio State.
If PJ doesn't go to a bowl game this year, that's it. Then I can see the wheels spinning in motion. Hey, people turn on him, but they're going bowling, and he's got positive momentum. And I pound recruiting more than anybody. Recruiting matters a lot. They're going to be just fine.
Does anything because I know there's been some talk this year about like how he runs the program and some there are some parents or like former athletes and stuff that former players that have come out against him. Does that shorten the rope anymore with the rest of the fan base? I don't think so. I mean, he's the best coach they've had since
Travis is right. That season a couple years ago bought him a ton of rope. But they have to be more worried about him leaving to go elsewhere than they have to be worried about him, winning 4 or 5 games for a couple years in a row, maybe having to fire them themselves.
I don't know that the talk about disgruntled parents, disgruntled players has really gotten any run since that first came out, however many months ago. Not saying it's not legitimate, but it just has not really been on the radar. And I mean, you have the best season in 60 years or however long it had been. That's going to give you more territory. David said it exactly right. There's always sort of that paranoia in November and December that he's going to leave. You have to take him at his word that he likes being in Minnesota. He says that, and until he's not, and at some point he won't be in Minnesota, and that's fine. So I'd like to see some continued progress here. They've done some nice things. They've won 3 straight bowl games as underdogs, as my boy Phil Steele points out. So that's a big plus. And I would also say that in the development of Tanner Morgan, legitimate quarterback. There's a chance he's drafted. I don't think in the first round, but there's a chance he's drafted next year. That's a big plus. And I just think things are going in the right direction. I don't think the roll the boat stuff really does anything for us, but it's not meant for us. It's meant for the 18, 19-year-old kids that are coming in, and if they believe in it, that's all that matters. And I like where the program's going for the most part. So
does Minnesota have the most difficult cross division games out of any team in the Big Ten? Home against Ohio State, at Indiana. I just don't know if there's another Big Ten team that has.
I've heard people say that you're kind of lucky that those are the ones you have. Like they don't have Penn State, they don't have Michigan State, they don't have Michigan. So to have Ohio State at least at home, it's not ideal that it's the first game of the year by any means.
Right.
And then Indiana is going to be tricky late in the year. And I'm going to say what I would always say about the Big Ten schedule. For for whatever reason, Maryland, it seems to be trickier than they should be. The games with Nebraska are always close. Purdue and the big bass drum, that's always, and and North. You go to Purdue and Northwestern, two schools that don't cut the grass, so it's 6 inches. You're playing in an alfalfa field, so they're always they're tricky games. So
two more things on the Minnesota deep dive here. Number one, if you're going to play Ohio State, and obviously they're going to be on the schedule every couple of years in the Big Ten, you want it in the opener and you want it at home, because especially with Ohio State's breaking in a new quarterback, they're not winning that game. We've established that. But if anybody tells me that's going to be a 4-touchdown game, I'll start laughing, because it's going to be a game till at least halftime. Second part of this, the Tanner Morgan being a legit quarterback is a very good point. The receiving core this year is a lot less than it has been the last few years. There's going to be a lot on Tanner to make more good things with less talent. But to counteract that, the defense that was so unbelievably awful last year, they cannot be any worse. And they have what do they have? 10 returning starters on offense and defense. Again, I like to make bold proclamations. I would be very, very surprised if they're not competitive in almost every game.
And to your point, if the offensive line is as good as what it appears to be, and you have great running backs, why not just pound the rock down the opposing team's throats? You keep their offense off the field. That's what's going to be the recipe for success for Minnesota. Just pound that rock.
That big fucking offensive tackle they got is going to be a top 15. Be a top 15 pick in April. So
I wouldn't be surprised if in that first game, echoing what David said one more time, they're not going to win. But I wouldn't be surprised if it has some vibes of them playing TCU a handful of years ago, where TCU, I think, was the number 2 team in the nation, came for a nationally televised game on that Thursday night. Everybody's jacked up. People have been talking about how Ohio State's coming to play the Gophers for like a month now, and they're going to keep talking about it in the next couple weeks. Gopher fans are excited about that, so they should be juiced up. They should have like 1 or 2 big plays early in the game, even against Ohio State, and that should make it exciting. Over 4 quarters, Ohio State's better, but I think there will be some vibes of how that TCU game went a few years ago when the Horned Frogs were number 2 and came to Minneapolis.
John,
Go ahead.
Which of these new quarterbacks do you like or don't like? You got Alabama, you got Clemson, you got Ohio State, you got Florida. All these cool. Any of them that you're high on? Any of them that you don't like?
Well, it's almost impossible not to be high on any Alabama or Clemson quarterback, but especially with the 2 that they have, from a recruiting standpoint, from a recruiting star standpoint, and overall, Bryce Young, the guy that Alabama has this year, is the highest rated quarterback Alabama's ever had. Will he have the same production as the last several that I went through there? Time will tell, but as far as skill set and talent, and the ability to use his legs too, which we're probably going to see a lot more than we have in the last year with Mac Jones or whatever. And then you got DJ at Clemson. Again, there was people last year that say, "Holy shit! If he can do that against Notre Dame, and he's 18 years old, whatever." But Ohio State, CJ Stroud, probably going to be pretty good this year, but he's going to lose his job to Quinn Ewers next year anyway, regardless. So see what you can do, and he's probably going to be one of those guys in the transfer portal. I mean, there's if you want quarterbacks, they got them. They still got them.
This is my first chance this year to get this name wrong, and it's not going to happen. DJ Uiagalelei.
That's why I stuck with DJ, because I couldn't have done that.
I know, but Uiagalelei. That's I have been practicing that for the last 2 weeks. Uiagalelei.
The backup quarterback has a longer last name.
Yeah. But to take that a step further, and again, sometimes whatever, but Bryce Young and DJ, when they're draft eligible, will both be top 5 picks in the NFL.
I can't wait. I'll be in Rocky Mountain National Park on the first Saturday of the season, so I'm in the same boat Stacken's in. But I can't wait for that Miami game to be happening, and we're gonna have a bunch of tweets saying, "Can you believe Bryce Young? First game he's gonna tear up that Miami defense. He'll have 2 or 3 jaw-dropping plays in the first half, and they'll probably have no problem with the Hurricanes." And so, yeah, I agree with what David said. I mean, He's a big-time player, Bryce Young, and he's going to make a big impact right off the bat. The running element is a huge thing. It's just kind of interesting how I think people – obviously, he's one of the greatest coaches of all time, but people love to try to just peg Nick Saban as one type of thing. LSU, it's defense. Early days of this Alabama era, it was defense. You didn't have a quarterback that was worth a damn. Well, now he's got a quarterback that's worth a damn. He's actually had a bunch of them in a row. So, and this guy will be really good too. And it is interesting with Ohio State. Quinn Ewers, basically foregoing his senior season of high school to get on campus. He's not going to play right off the bat, but it's very possible that he's going to get his 4 games worth, at some point in this year. And if he's the best guy, he could be the starter by the end of the season. That's not completely out of the question.
I, for one, can't wait until we discuss the Arch Manning recruiting sweepstakes.
Oh my goodness.
It's unreal. Literally unreal.
I am just looking forward to the NFL draft of 2026 when the Vikings can take him number 1 overall.
Start tanking right now.
March for Arch. That's what we're doing. March for Arch.
USC, what do we got?
I was waiting. I purposely did not say very much about him. I've obviously a pretty defined.
Leaves the room and goes to the next county.
He doesn't want to hear about it. He doesn't want to hear about it.
That's a low blow. They have a defense. They do have a defense, which is kind of shocking for Clay Helton. Keaton Slovis, good quarterback. They got weapons. Offensive line. There's a couple question marks, especially at left tackle, which is never a good sign. Schedule's not all that challenging early. Obviously, I say that, and then they have Stanford week 2, and if Stanford goes into the Coliseum and wins that game, you might never see me again. But
death watch.
They should, obviously it's USC. They should be in the Pac-12 South conversation every year. They should have a chance, whatever. 9-3, 10-2, and if it's not 9-3 or 10-2, at least Clay Helton's on the absolute hot seat. There's a pretty distinct chance. Their first 6, San Jose State's not going to be as good as they were last year, but still kind of an interesting opener. Stanford at home, game you should win. At Washington State, you win that game. Oregon State, you win that game. At Colorado, probably sitting at 5-0. Week 6, where it gets interesting. Home game against Utah. Utah's always tough in the South. Potentially could be 6-0. You get a bye week, and as a 6-0 team, you get a bye week, and you could be going to Notre Dame, who also could be very much in the conversation. And to circle back to the game day conversation we were having earlier, if SC's 6-0, Notre Dame's 5-1 or 6-0, game day is going to be in South Bend. But
okay.
So my official prediction, just because I have to, and I'll lean up. I'll say they go 10-2 and probably lose the Pac-12 title game to Oregon or Washington.
Also, because you've picked every game in college football, you've got a win-loss record for every team in Conference USA and the Mountain West too.
Right. Yeah.
I just, it's funny. Clay Helton. Let's see, how long has he been the coach at? 7 years. This is his 7th year, and I think he's been on the hot seat the entire time. I mean, the guy's got fire retardant pants at this point because he's been burning up the entire time he's been there. So, and they're as well equipped as any team recently to go out and win their division and be in that Pac-12 championship game. I agree. It does seem like it just kind of comes down to Utah, USC. You got that game in the Coliseum. You kind of have the right games in the Coliseum. You got Stanford at home. You got Utah at home. You alternate the game with Notre Dame. You got UCLA at home at the end of the year. I got to say it, UCLA is just kind of in my shit or get off the pot, column here. Chip Kelly, what are we doing here? Let's see something. They have the mega game against LSU right off the bat. That's going to be a fun one. They're selling beer at the Rose Bowl specifically for LSU. I at least I choose to believe that that's how they're doing it. But that'll be a big deal. And I kind of put them in the same category as Virginia Tech. Let's see something right off the bat. A show me something game for that to be said.
I mean, first off, Justin Fuente, get the hell out of here if you aren't going to do something worth a damn this year. And then, but back to UCLA, 6-6 this year. 6-6. Are they going to be good? Or are they going to be bad? Who the hell knows? Yeah, should or get off the pot.
I can't wait.
Kelly.
I can't wait to watch them play. Let's see here, Arizona State. Watch them play Colorado. These games where they'll be on it late at night. You know, it's on Fox Sports 1. It's on ESPN. Whatever. The game, blown leads, stupid decisions. I can't wait for it. I also would like to say that Nick Rolovich, you're going to be time to turn in the office key, because I can't imagine him being the coach for very much longer when Washington is mandating the vaccine and he doesn't see
Isn't he going for it though? I think he said he was going to abide by that.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yep.
all right.
Like 2 days ago, he came out and said, "Oh, by the way, I'm just going to go ahead and do that." But
Yeah, good idea.
Stacken, did you miss my USC preview? You want me to go through it again?
Well, I thought we were talking about South Carolina. So I
Oh,
Hey.
man.
Pulling the oldie but the goodie out of the bag. There, I like it. I like it.
Point for Stacken coming in late with some good. Anything we have?
give me the summary. You think USC is going to be good?
The summary, yeah, that's about it. But I said 9-3 or 10-2, and obviously USC, that should be the standard and is the standard at a minimum. Schedule sets up relatively decent form in the conference. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I said 10-2. I like the offense. The defense has got a couple good pieces on the D line, but
I'll tell you right now, I agree with you. 10-2.
yeah, if they had a legitimate coach that wasn't named Clay Helton with the schedule and talent that they have, I could see myself bumping up towards 11-1. But with Clay, they'll find a way to lose a game or two. They shouldn't.
I'll just tell you right now, I have USC 10-2, Utah 11-1, but USC beats Utah, and USC goes to the Pac-12 championship.
Oh boy. Yeah, I think the Pac-12 title game's in Vegas this year. I might have to go. Yep.
Very good. Get on Vegas.
That's at the big old Roomba.
Yeah.
Very exciting. With the SEC thing, how are they going to do the divisions? What are they going to do with
do
that?
the pods?
What are some ideas here?
4 pods, 3. Yeah, 4 pods of 3.
Hey, Stack, you got a hell of a thunderstorm going on in your house too, or not?
Yes, I sure do.
Holy
How
fuck.
do you
Good. It's about damn time.
How do you pick conference representatives, title game representatives?
Here's what you do. Here's
Three
what
team
Oh, okay.
or whatever.
We'll
figure that out.
Lay it on me.
How do we? Okay, who goes where? So
I'm going to tell you right now. Alabama and Auburn go to the East, and then you put Texas and Oklahoma in the West.
That's one of the smartest things I think you've ever said.
Well, thank you very much.
I mean that seriously.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about it, but that would make quite a bit of sense.
The only thing that makes an issue is the fact that you still have Missouri in the East.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, you could switch that up with another team at some point. But I mean, it's geographically, just bump them over.
Yeah.
I mean,
Let me find this pod idea. This was a Bill Connolly thing from ESPN. So let me find that so I can contribute here.
Well, if that's what happens, I'll tell you, Texas A&M in particular is going to be super happy about avoiding Alabama consistently.
Anybody we haven't mentioned? A&M, LSU, any other teams that have been lost through the cracks that could be contenders here?
The pressure is going to be on Coach O. There's a lot of crap.
Quarterbacks. What are these quarterbacks they've got? I have no idea.
No, I just mean from the standpoint of a lot of crap's been happening the last year in LSU world. And that could be – he's got to be on his ball game here.
and I got to tell you, that loss to Mississippi State last year is just awful. Just awful, considering what Mississippi State ended up being.
And to get outside of Joe Burrow, that's not happening again. You're going to need someone that good. But, LSU quarterbacks have not been lighting the world on fire outside of that 1 year for God knows what. So,
Okay, so here's the pod idea. This is you'd have a pod of Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and South Carolina, then a pod of Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. So basically, there's your SEC East right there. Then you've got a pod of LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M. And then the fourth pod is Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. You play non-conference games. You play the other 3 teams in your pod every year. You play 2 games against each of the other 3 pods. That means you host every team once every 4 seasons. So
I like that. How do you decide? who
What
goes
you should do then is you should have a built-in week before the SEC championship game and have the 4 pod winners go against one another, and then the top 2 go to the SEC championship game.
I like that idea. You take, you just rank them 1 to 4.
I mean, if you're going to go to 10 conference games, essentially, with that solution, that's going to be there's not a lot of room there for a non-conference game. So
We're looking at what Alabama in one. You look at Oklahoma in the other. LSU A&M in the other.
Georgia,
and
Florida.
As the top teams. All right. We ready for a Heisman discussion? Heisman picks. You got Spencer Rattler out of Oklahoma, probably your favorite. You got JT Daniels, Georgia, among the favorites. Some of the other unknown quarterbacks we've mentioned.
I don't know if you guys are as knee deep in it as I am, but how about we do favorite, and we also try to come up with who's going to be in New York for the ceremony on Heisman night, like our top 4 or 5, if you guys have names. But
Yep, can do that.
okay.
Rapid fire Heisman pick, Jottenkirk. Winner, and then we'll come back with the surprise pick.
Okay, my winner is Spencer Rattler.
Marcus.
yeah, I'm gonna go the same. I'm gonna go Spencer Rattler.
Me too.
I can't pick him then.
No, you got to pick somebody else.
Go Bryce Young.
Okay.
Surprise pick. Who was your outside the top 5?
How about
10?
Can I just shoot
You
my
can
shot
go, yeah.
in the dark here? How about Bryce Purdy, quarterback from Iowa State?
Brock Purdy.
Brock
Purdy.
Purdy. I'm sorry. See, I mean, it
None of them.
Brock Purdy.
I was going to go that way as well.
Well,
Agreement there.
my outside off the radar, even though he might be the number 1 overall pick next year in the NFL draft, Carson Strong, Nevada.
All right.
If we're under the assumption that C.J. Stroud is going to win the Ohio State job, and even though I already gave half the season to a high school senior that's going to be in the quarterback room later this year, I'm going to say C.J. Stroud, your surprise, I guess, to be the Heisman winner.
C.J. Stroud, 4th best odds. We've got Carson Strong at plus 10,000. That's going.
That's off the board. Let's get nuts.
Put a little coin on that. My goodness.
We got Thibodeau, the defensive end from Oregon, at plus 6,600.
What's Derek Stingley at? It's got to be huge. Corner from LSU.
I don't think he's on.
Probably not.
8,000.
Okay.
Plus 8,000.
I'll run through my top 5 and you guys can go with whatever. But Rattler, Carson Strong, Matt Corral from Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is sitting on a very fun year. Obviously going to lose some games, but the offense should be legit. He was very good last year. Then I circle back, and I think De'Aaron King is going to have a big year for Miami. It'd be very exciting if he's healthy. So that's 4. And if they go 5, I'll take either one of DJ or Bryce Young to represent Alabama Clemson.
Heisman picks. We'll see. What was it? The wide receiver last year won. So,
yep.
In a weird year, wide receivers usually don't win. So, something a little bit different last year. Wide receiver winning. Anything else? Are we ready for picks?
Well, I was just going to say I'm going to throw both Iowa State guys in there. I'm going to go throw Brock Purdy in there. Is Bryce Lee the running back?
Breece Hall.
Breece Hall, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
Breece Hall. Whatever. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same. Again, it wouldn't be one of these streaming if I didn't fuck up a name. So I mean,
hey, Stack. If you hear a knock on the door in the next 5 minutes, don't answer it. He might be coming to beat you up.
All right. I thought it might be you for a sec. So I mean,
it's
that's
all
good. So I'll take those guys. I like De'Aaron King. I like DJ Uwangalele, and give me.
You've nailed that name twice. I'm so fucking impressed.
Thank you very much. And then
we're at the portion of the Heisman picks, though, where Stackins he's pissing on a bunch of people, so that.
Crins, you're the grandmaster, but I got a nomination that we go with the Power 5 conferences, and we just go around, and we give our conference title games and the conference winners.
Good. Let's see. SEC. Start with the SEC. Schottenkirk, Marcus, Stacken. We'll go from there.
Yep.
All right. Schottenkirk, your SEC representative. Go again.
A&M versus Georgia. Georgia wins.
Wow.
Georgia over A&M. Georgia in. Marcus.
I'm going to go Alabama over Georgia.
Alabama, Georgia. Stacken.
And I'm going to go Alabama over undefeated Georgia.
As well, we'll go Alabama and Georgia. Alabama winning said game. We'll leave it at that. The Big Ten.
Wisconsin over Ohio State.
Wisconsin winning the Big Ten.
Ohio State over Wisconsin.
Ohio State over Wisconsin.
We'll go with that as well. Ohio State, Wisconsin. Big 12. Oklahoma, Ohio State. Who's not picking that?
Oklahoma over Iowa State. Yep.
I want to say that it's going to be Oklahoma over Texas, just to in case the Big 12 really does fall apart over the next 12 months. But yes, Oklahoma over Iowa State.
Iowa State breaks a three-way tie for second with Kansas State and Texas to advance against Oklahoma, where they will lose.
Okay.
Give me Iowa State over Oklahoma.
I like it. There we go.
Give me Iowa State to win this damn thing. 6 years in a row, I think, for Oklahoma. ACC.
Clemson over whoever the hell they play.
Good.
I will go with Clemson. I'm going to go with Clemson over Miami.
There you go.
I'm going with Clemson over Virginia. No, I'm not going to pick the please. Give me UNC. Clemson over UNC.
I'll take Clemson, North Carolina. Clemson winning that one. And the Pac-12, the big one. Is this on a Friday night? When is this game again?
Yeah, it's on Friday.
Friday night in Vegas.
Yep.
Special. Good.
Give me my Washington Huskies over my USC Trojans.
Wow. I'm gonna go with USC over Oregon.
I'm going to go Oregon over USC.
Me and Stacken pretty much agree on everything. Oregon over USC.
You hate to see that, really.
You do. I'm sorry, Prince. I really am.
It's going to be a hard season. Any Cincinnati's, AAC's, your Liberty horseshit, any non-Power 5, the Group of 5?
Cincinnati's going to be bucking its head. They're going to be in the mix here in this thing.
Yep,
I don't know
sure
how
are.
it's going to work out, but they got the right games on the schedule. That's half the battle. They got Indiana. They got Notre Dame. They have them in quick succession, so that'll be the storyline to keep an eye on.
Yep.
Are they your representative?
My representative to the New Year's Six or to the playoffs,
Yes.
or yes, the New Year's Six. I will take Cincinnati. I do agree with what Shotty said. Nevada is going to be plucky as well. But I'm going to stick with Cincinnati here. They're going to win one of those games there, and we're not going to have an undefeated other group of 5 teams. So Cincinnati will be the highest ranked team left.
Are we taking Nevada over Boise State? Where's that game being played this year? Is that
Nevada. I'll say it 10 more times. Nevada.
Okay.
One more time. Nevada.
All right.
The schedule's not.
Are we saying it correctly? Isn't it Nevada?
Sure.
I'm kidding.
Sure.
Nevada, right?
Schedule. They start at Cal. Okay, Cal's a Pac-12 team. Cal, whatever. If they win that game, they get Idaho State. At Kansas State, week 3. If they're 3-0, they get a bye. And then guess what? They open conference play at Boise State. If they want to get spicy, they continue to win the games. And guess what? I'll call my shot right now. Nevada's running the table.
Whoa.
all right?
Stacken, who's your like?
If you're having Nevada run the table, are they their representative then in the New Year's Six?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. What do you mean? What do I like? Do I like Cincinnati?
Group of 5. New Year's
I'll just go with them on to Cincinnati. I mean, I'd love to see UCF in there again, or I'm always a fan of Boise State, but I'll just go with Cincinnati.
We have confirmed that the mega Boise State Nevada game is going to be on Fox or Fox Sports 1, so that's good because that was my fear. You put that on CBS Sports Network, nobody's going to see it. So,
ain't fine. Playoff time, and if you have other bowl games you want to mention, you can do that as well. Stacking, what is your playoff ranked? Where are we playing at this? What's the schedule?
Well, I'm gonna go Alabama number 1 just because they're always good. Give me Alabama. Give me Ohio State. Though the Wisconsin, I was tempted to pick Wisconsin over Ohio State there. Give me Oklahoma and give me Georgia as my 4 teams. So Clemson is out.
Where do we go from there?
We'll go with give me Ohio State against Georgia.
Okay.
And I will go with Georgia to win it all.
Georgia finally doing it. Win a fucking national title for us.
So sorry, Athens.
Wow. It's been done.
I think Stacken and I might be on the same page. I think I've got Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma as my 4.
Right.
I need a minute to think about how I would have those ordered. I think I'm probably gonna have Oklahoma 1.
Oklahoma at 1. That'd be something different.
Yeah, I think
You got them. You got records stacking. Do you got records? Anybody undefeated?
Yep. Alabama undefeated. Oklahoma undefeated. Georgia with 1 loss. Ohio State. I think I have Ohio State undefeated too. With maybe a trip-up game against Indiana, that would be the lone loss.
I'm going with
in the SEC title game.
Alabama beating Georgia. Georgia's 1 loss to Alabama in the SEC championship game.
So we have 4 undefeated teams going into the final week.
Yep.
I'm going into my nightmare scenario. I got Georgia with 1 loss. I got Bama with 1 loss. I got Ohio State undefeated. So 2 undefeated.
Oklahoma.
So, and then I've got Alabama over Georgia in the championship game. Georgia will have the win over Clemson from the beginning of the year. That's how I get my 4. I'm going to have Alabama be the 3 seed. I'm going to have them beat Ohio State. And once again, so we're going to have Oklahoma. And, of course, Oklahoma is going to play Georgia. That's a rematch of the semifinal from a few years ago. I got Oklahoma and Alabama taking aim at each other. Where is the championship this year? It's in Indianapolis, correct?
Indianapolis.
And I am going to say that there will be goddamn stagecoach, goddamn boomer schooner all the way from Norman to Indianapolis. I'm taking the Sooners to win a national championship first time in a long time.
We've got a Georgia pick. They haven't won a long time. Oklahoma, it's been a while.
I got to pick somebody different. I can't pick Ohio State. I can't pick Alabama. I love Clemson, but I can't pick Clemson. Go get Bent Dabo. And, so I'm picking.
Semifinals, Orange Bowl, Miami semifinal, and Cotton Bowl, Dallas semifinal.
So obviously in that case, Oklahoma would be the 1. They would be in Jerry World, and Ohio State would be the 2. They'd be in Miami.
That's what we're looking at. Schottenkirk, you're 4.
I got Georgia as number 1. Wisconsin, number 2. Oklahoma, number 3. Texas A&M, number 4.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that leads me to a Georgia-Texas A&M rematch in the playoffs after they play in the SEC title game. Don't think that's very likely, so we probably have to flip something there to make whatever, because I don't think they would do that. And that's assuming A&M's undefeated and Georgia, they're both undefeated going into that game. I have a lot of undefeated teams this year, and it's going to come back to bite me. But going through from there, I have Oklahoma winning the whole thing. So however you want to slice it, and again, like I said, 1 versus 4 wouldn't exactly work. They'd have to maneuver it somehow. But like Track said, I can't pick Clemson and Alabama every year, and we're having fun. So I'm going to have some fun with some picks.
A lot of shades of red in your playoff between Georgia, Texas A&M, Wisconsin, and Oklahoma.
All red playoff.
It's the red wedding.
Ooh.
Washington misses out, by the way, as a potentially undefeated Pac-12 champ.
Washington is the one team.
Hello. Take
I'm
that,
gonna put-
Larry Scott.
Fucking idiot. I'm going to take 3 SEC teams.
Oh boy.
I have Alabama at 1. Georgia at 2.
Georgia.
A&M at 3.
Yeah. Yes. Let's do it.
Top 3, in fact. And then Clemson at number 4. We're going to have a rematch of some sorts somewhere around here. But Georgia and A&M don't play, so maybe we do that. So, do an Alabama-Georgia final. Alabama with the win.
I will draw out some New Year's 6 games offline when I get a chance to look at who's maybe getting first pick, second pick, and I'll get those to you.
Get those in there.
I don't know if there's gonna be a blog post or not, but
Are we doing the our picks like we did a couple? We've done for years and stuff. The conference picks. We didn't do it last year because that was
We have to we have to do the weekly. I'm not so
the weekly. Yeah.
right. If we don't do the conference again, I'm totally fine. But we have to do the weekly
On ESPN?
or on the spreadsheet that we have.
Yeah, spreadsheet. Yeah.
yeah, especially
I
this
think we should
first-
do. I think we
this
should do
first
both.
weekend. There's a lot of good games that aren't on Saturday. So
10, 12 games. Any changes you want to make to the weekly picks? Just straight up?
Well,
straight up, I think we need to, if we want to do like an against the spread thing, we got to have
That's
I think-
separate.
more defined.
my proposal, if we want to do it against the spread, we just do weekly against the spread, and we say fuck the conference picks, and we just focus on against the spread weekly. But that's just my idea.
Do that.
I do like the conference picks, but that's just
I do
Yeah.
like conference
I-
picks too, but you end up waiting on other people. Obviously, not
Mhm.
everybody has the time to pick right away, but we have made it work in the past, and I'd be up for continuing it. It's just extra work, obviously. So
Come up with something
If-
here this week.
If Oklahoma wins the title, just to wrap this up from my perspective, if Oklahoma wins the title this year, I'm going to be a very, very handsomely rich fellow. So I'm Oklahoma 1,000,000% of the way this year. So
What
Good.
do we, what do
go
we got?
Sooners.
what
I think
are
they're-
the odds? What are the odds to win to win the championship?
Right now, I believe they're 6-1, 5-1, 6-1. They were a little bit higher early in the summer. So
Sure.
650. Yeah. Ohio
Yeah,
State
about
plus
6.
700.
Yep.
Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma, Ohio State. Those 5 are heavy favorites.
Yeah.
They're by far, and then after that it drops off quite a bit.
I can't wait to relive this in 4 months. And my dumb ass picked all the picks I made in Nevada and all this other bullshit. Hey, who knows? We're due for a year that's not just chalk. We are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is Nevada your team then, or your surprise team, or this team you're going to follow saying Nevada's my team this year?
Yes, 100%. I'll be to try to watch every single Nevada game that they play this year. I'm in. Like I said, they have a couple interesting games at Cal right away, at Kansas State. Pac-12, Big 12, and then they open the conference season at Boise. And hell, quite honestly, they could be 2-3 after 5 games. But let's go Wolfpack.
I am here to tell you right now that Kansas will go 1-11 with their 1 win coming against South Dakota.
There we
Cool.
go.
It's
You like
the-
Arizona State? Is that your team stacking? I like Indiana. Indiana's my team.
I think if I were to pick a team outside the top 15 to make a legit, like a serious run in stuff, it would be Arizona State in the Pac-12. I'm just looking at like the rankings and stuff at 25. They're ranked 25th right now. I think they are the team because I really like Jaden Daniels. I mean, he's fantastic. So
They better do it this year before they drop the hammer on old Herb and all the
exactly. Exactly.
But unfortunately, with the NCAA, the hammer might not be able to be dropped anymore because they're killing
They're gonna be
themselves.
right.
Yeah.
So do whatever the fuck you want in the next couple of years. It ain't gonna matter. Marcus, you got a
Two
teams
teams that I like.
Yep.
Yeah, two teams that I like, not currently in the top. Actually, let's make it three that aren't in the top 25. One, the Gophers. Why not? Two, Ole Miss. I agree with what David said. They should be exciting. With Wayne.
Mac Brown's a baller.
Yeah, the quarterback's great. And TCU, they should be having their best team in about 5 years here as well. Purely coincidence I was wearing the shirt, but I was able to talk myself into that just now. So three teams that aren't ranked right now that I like to at least make some noise.
The Gophers 8-4, Ole Miss 9-3, TCU 6-6.
I'll be interested to see. We've David and obviously has some interest in Sark, and we'll see what Texas is able to muster up. Basically, Sam Ellinger was the face of that team. I'm not. Texas is not back. They're never back. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But that's one. Obviously, everybody's going to be keeping an eye on.
Oh, let's see. Wasn't it stacking like there's some top 10 team that ends up not ranked every year or something like that?
Yep.
There is.
And you look at Iowa State, you look at North Carolina, the two teams that usually aren't up there. So you look at them with their schedules, they're not tough, so they should win at least 9 games. And if they're 9-3, they will be in the top 25. So I don't. Maybe Cincinnati. Maybe I don't see anybody offhand that's going to drop huge out of the top.
Cincinnati would be my pick, but I mean that's
Texas A&M if it gets nuclear. Honestly, Texas A&M.
Texas A&M.
If it gets weird, it's got to get weird. But
we will see. We're back with people in the stands. Last year was not a ton of fun. Didn't have a ton of fun yet last year. You had stupid shit like Coastal Carolina and Liberty. That was.
How dare you rip on the Chanticleers?
It was cool. Coastal Carolina and BYU scheduled a game on a Monday and played on a Saturday. That was awesome.
That way, had some weird shit. That was an interesting game. So Coastal Carolina 22, you got Liberty in the mix as well. So, but you got Thursday, you got the Ohio State Minnesota game of note. Friday, that UNC Tech game, and then started off with Penn State Wisconsin. 2 Saturdays, you got Alabama Miami. I think it's going to be Alabama, like they play like a Michigan. They play like one of those. It looks good, but they're just like 4 touchdowns better than them. It's just like
the thing. Alabama's obviously got a lot going for it, but the thing that really Alabama really has going for it this year, breaking in some new offensive talent, is this is probably their best defense in the last 4 or 5 years. So even if the offense isn't great, they should have no problems. I think they're an 18-point favorite in that opener against Miami, and that sounds about right.
Indiana, Iowa. I like Indiana, Iowa at 2:30 if that Alabama game gets out of hand.
3 really good games. I can't say I was really crazy about the Big Ten, playing these conference games in week 1, but you've got Ohio State, Minnesota, you got Indiana, Iowa, and you got Wisconsin, Penn State. Those are 3 pretty captivating games right off the bat. Our guy Charlie's not here. I feel like a piece of us is missing because our guy Charlie Hildebrand is not here. But that Nebraska-Illinois game next Saturday is got some juice to it, especially considering Illinois. They got Brett Bielema. It's going to be interesting with Burt. He might take his shirt off during the game, and or he might reveal his Iowa tattoo. Anything could happen in that game. Also, the pressure's on Scott Frost. It just is. And you look at their schedule, they cannot afford to lose that game. So a lot of pressure there, and it could be a pretty sour season when you look at Nebraska's schedule if they don't win that game, because as we talked about, they're going to get killed by Oklahoma. They got some tough games early on. I believe I think they played Wisconsin early, right? So yeah, it's going to get weird.
You mentioned that game has juice. I'm going to have a lot of orange juice with a hell of a lot of vodka to be able to want to watch that game.
I thought you were going to say something about Juice Williams, Illinois legend.
If I have it right, and I don't always have it right, which is shocking to some, but very understood to others, Nebraska opened as, I believe, a 9.5-point favorite, maybe even 10-point favorite. That's been bet down to 7 points. They're only a 7-point favorite, obviously at Illinois, but they lose that game, and I don't think Frost makes it back to goddamn Lincoln.
Let's correct the record here. Wisconsin, they play them second to last. So they got Illinois, then they got Fordham and Buffalo. So you win the first game, you should be 3-0. Then you go to Oklahoma, they're not going to win that one. They do have Michigan State, Northwestern Michigan, and then Minnesota. But at the end of the
Who is that?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Oh,
Emergency.
we're in a tornado warning.
We're in a tornado warning?
Yeah, it's 7:30.
Well, I got to go then.
It's
Somebody else can cover. A tornado warning.
That's what that just said. That emergency alert system.
Jesus
Tornado
Christ.
warning in this area until 7:30.
Well, it's not
Maybe that's now it's popped up here. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, they closed the season with Ohio State, Wisconsin. Those are three tough games for the Huskers. So
tornado warning.
Even in a tornado warning, Marcus comes through in the clutch.
I can't stop.
Yeah, and Nebraska, I think they're making a bowl. So
No.
It didn't work. Scott Frost. When something happens, it's unfortunate.
If all of our viewers didn't think that we love college football enough, we love it enough that a tornado warning doesn't get us to stop previewing the season.
Let me check my phone.
Northern
We
Davis
got
County.
Louisiana, Texas. That's a good one, week 1. And then you got the main event, Georgia Classic.
Yeah, and we brought up Texas. They've got Louisiana Lafayette, and that could be a tricky one in week 1 as well. So.
Very, very tricky. Louisiana Lafayette might have the best defensive backfield in the country. So good luck to Sark with those receivers and quarterbacks week 1.
I tell you, Steve Sarkisian at Texas, destined to fail.
It's boom or bust. I honestly think it could work great, but the bust potential is gigantic. They're going to score points. It's a matter if he has enough good coaches and can recruit people to play defense too.
Warnings are going off. What is this?
It says that this storm will be around Mitchell at 7:25.
Better look at a radar.
There's the tornado sirens.
Louisiana, Texas. Yeah, that'll be fun. Then, LSU, UCLA, 7:30. Not too bad. So, what do we? Yeah, little, not something huge. Not just a little damn thing here. So we got that. Is that
Well,
right?
now we may as well get into the news. We got the sports, we got the weather. We got to get the news in here.
Afghanistan's going to shit.
Well, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And we've lost it.
Well, if I say this joking, and I probably shouldn't even say it, but if this is the last college football preview, it's been been my honor and been a great pleasure. So yeah.
If one of us doesn't make it, yeah.
Marcus, do you have a storm shelter you can get to?
I gotta either get to the basement or I gotta.
You gotta get over to Chris. Gotta get to Chris.
I'm over here.
Have you looked at the radar yet? How does it look? Does it look bad?
There's not much there. I can't really look out.
Where are we at here?
The weather.
It looks like it's going to be north of Mitchell here, so we're probably
we're fine. Welcome.
We're good.
The sirens are still going off. It's like
radar indicating it's going to be north, but
it's making us a late turn south. May get clipped the north side.
Are you seeing a bow echo?
Yeah, we got to zoom in.
Is it spinning? Is it spinning?
I see the hook. It isn't very big. Shut these goddamn sirens off.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and nominate this last 3 or 4 minutes in the Sports Lounge Hall of Fame because holy Christ almighty.
I got to tell you.
Especially if it goes south here.
Corinne's right behind you. I think the radar's on. I think.
Yeah.
Or is that here right there?
On the TV there.
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
You go to.
Oh boy.
Yeah, let's go see what. Oh, gee. Okay, I'm not on weather, so I don't give a shit. Let's go inside. See what we got for the Killo's got for weather here.
I
Going to James's house.
saw Mulan was on, and ironically enough, that's what's being watched upstairs in my house as well. That's
There we go.
I mean,
Damn,
Mulan.
Disney movies.
Yeah,
Mulan is one
I
of
should change the channel here too.
Mulan is one of the best Disney movies, if I may say so. I think it's very underrated.
Tennessee.
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah, that is.
Orla,
coming down.
not many. It's coming right to us, Marcus. It's taking a hard hook to the southeast.
Oh
Loomis.
shit.
the seven
All right,
people
I'm on
in
my way
Loomis,
over there.
get out of here.
I'm on my way over there.
All right, we'll go over here. We'll have some fun. I got my garage. It's not done, but we got our vehicles in the garage.
Well, guess what? It's about to blow away, buddy.
Boomer Sooner. Let's go Sooners.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye.
We got that. Any baseball notes? Schottenkirk Giants doing very well. Twins, haven't watched them for months, don't care.
Yeah.
It's we got the White Sox, you got Houston, you got the Yankees on the come, you got Tampa, you got Milwaukee, you got Dodgers, Giants. This is as many good teams as I remember.
Oh, for sure. And the NL West in particular is just insane with what the Giants are doing. The Dodgers are right on their tail. And you list off the teams in the AL: Houston, the Tampa, the Yankees. I'll throw even the Atlanta as another team that's been playing well the last 2 weeks in the National League. I still think it's the Dodgers to lose. Obviously, this just in, they're really fucking good. They got the best pitching, whatever. But certainly, as a baseball fan, it's great to see that we're halfway or more than halfway through August, and we have seemingly 6, 8, 9 legitimate teams, and you don't know how it's going to play out. And most division races are still relatively tight, so it's going to be a fun race to the finish.
How did the Phillies get swept by the Diamondbacks?
Bad.
Yeah, it's
Bad.
not good.
And Baltimore is probably the worst team we've ever seen. Like even they're rivaling the Tigers. They are rivaling the Tigers.
What have they lost? Like 18 in a row or something?
All by multiple runs.
They're bad. They're
yeah.
bad, but I don't think they're quite historically bad, but they're definitely really bad.
That 120 loss Tigers team, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, get ready for the tornado. Yeah, baseball. Yeah, Twins have been disappointing. They went on a little run, and the Yankees happened. So,
Right.
I do not remember a team that had as much trouble with a team like that Twins Yankees thing. Just 20 years in. It's 20 years in.
Yep.
And it's. I mean, Twins were playing the best they've played all season in some aspects, and then
Yeah, I mean,
Yankees got them.
faces change, but the results, it's just uncanny. It don't matter. It does not matter, and it's like you said, 20 years. It's hard to put into words almost.
Some of the prospects they got coming up, that should be exciting. Some pitchers, some guys.
Yep.
So hopefully,
Yep.
Next year we'll see what happens there.
I will say I was glad that they traded as much as they did. I honestly wanted them to go another step or two further with some of the relievers and this or that, but they seemingly got from Toronto for Barrios and obviously from Tampa for Cruz. They got legit guys that have performed well since coming over, and we'll see what they do moving forward. But again, unfortunately, we're always talking about 2, 3, 4 years down the line with a lot of those guys, and we see how often they don't pan out. But maybe we'll get lucky this time around.
Stack and anything else? Baseball, anything else? We covered the football.
Yep.
NFL in a couple weeks, or do you want to do the big scheduled draft next week, or people around next week for that? Or you got a wedding that's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, wedding 2 weeks, so Labor Day's out.
Next week, the last week before things get nuts.
Yeah, next week probably should work, I think.
Remind me of what was the idea again? I forgot.
Everybody, it's like the announcer draft, but with NFL games.
Oh, that's right.
We'll
Yeah,
have,
unfortunately. Yeah. Next
Are you
week
going next week?
it's gonna be tough for me next week, and I would love to. But if you guys want to do it,
we can wait until we're all together because Charlie should be a part of that, so we all have a network.
And we could do it week 1 of the NFL too. Just be week 1.
Yeah.
Try that football in a couple weeks. Anything else stacking?
Patrick Beverly Hills. That's where I want to be. Goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So
Whatever that's worth, sure.
I mean, it's well, okay. So here's the funny thing about that is because they made the trade to the Grizzlies, and everyone I saw several people like Stephen A. Smith or something was applauding, like, "Oh, Patrick Beverley is exactly what the Grizzlies need." And then not even 48 hours later, they trade him to the Timberwolves, and he seems much more excited about being in Minnesota than he is in Memphis. Maybe that's just maybe he's acting. I don't know what it is, but that's the first move that the Timberwolves have made this offseason. I think it's a decent idea.
I feel like that's the move that a team that's really close makes to get like a good defender, or people think he's a good defender.
Well, I mean,
Minnesota, a team that's going to win 35 games, like what the fuck does that matter?
I think Minnesota is right on the cusp of getting in that play-in tournament and stuff. I think they could be. So it was just funny to me how everyone was praising this move by Memphis and then getting Beverley because he's exactly what they need, and then they go ahead and trade him 48 hours later.
Can somebody look up real quick Patrick Beverley's contract? I don't want to be wrong here, but I think I have an idea what they might be looking at.
What do we got here?
Because if he's on, I'm not sure if he got a new deal recently. He might have, but I could have sworn that he was on an expiring contract. I think this might be a move to help this year, but also have some money next summer. But
Jared Culver, they got rid of him, right?
Yep. Right. Culver went to Memphis.
That didn't work. He's due $14 million next year, and then he'll be out.
Right. So I think that, yeah.
So it's a cap clearing move.
It does two things. It gives you some more excitement that you could be something more this year, but if it doesn't work as well, and if you want to, next summer it's $14 million, and it's. I think it can work both ways. I think they want the flexibility in that.
Westbrook to the Lakers, up down on that. I mean, they're
for me 2 thumbs up. They
outstanding.
It's Westbrook's obviously a number one. There's no question. But Malik Monk, amongst a few other signings that they made, and I know there are a lot of older guys. Assuming health, we saw what happened when they weren't healthy last year. And we saw year one when they weren't healthy and LeBron got hurt, whatever. If AD stays healthy, LeBron stays healthy, Russ stays healthy, and they can all manage each other. And if only 2 of them are playing a night and you rotate who sits or whatever, if they're healthy, they're absolutely going to win the title next year.
That's a big if, though.
Well, huge if. But
didn't Travis, didn't you say that LeBron is currently the longest tenured Laker right now?
Yes, he's when they're 3 years, I think. Yeah,
and
longest tenured. So
to that point too, he's player de facto GM like he has been for a long time.
Yes,
but going back to when he went to the Lakers, there were some among us, our good buddy Drew in particular, but there was a few others that LeBron. Well, he's not worried about winning anymore. He just wants to be in LA for all the other things that he can do. Every single move they've made since he's been there, which obviously was going to happen, has been geared towards winning titles.
Yes.
They have to.
And if you don't think that he has had a finger on
huge
all of these moves this offseason, you're kidding yourself. He has. I mean, he's been the one pulling the trigger.
His window is this year, and I love this guy. His window is this year and next year. That window's over after that.
The Bulls made some news. I'm not super excited. They got DeMar DeRozan. They got who else? They got the Ball.
Yep, they're a playoff team next year.
1,000,000% a playoff team.
So
they might be the 6, 7, or 8 seed, but there's. I know you're the Bulls guy, but I love those. They are definitely going to be like my 1 or maybe 1A team that I watch on League Pass all the time because they're going to be a fun watch.
So yeah. They got they got Vukovic, they got Lonzo Ball, they've got DeMar DeRozan, they've got Zach LaVine. You've got 3 of those 4 are all-star type guys, so it's exciting. We'll see what happens. See what happens with the Bulls. So there we have it. And we'll see if Marcus is actually coming over. I don't know. He was leaving at 7. I don't know if he's coming over. Got something else to do. Keeping track of the Storms. I think it's going to miss us. I don't think we're going to get anything, honestly. It's going to be just in the north. So you're going to probably look bad, but
Better safe than sorry, though.
And they're going back between this and Big Brother because we need to do that for Kello. So there we go. As we wrap it up, 286 Sports Lounge, Stacking. Anything else? Final thoughts?
No, I don't think so. College basketball, we'll talk about that later when the season comes. But looking forward to college basketball, but especially college football this year with the fans back. That's what we were robbed last year for obvious reasons. This year, it'll be good to have it back.
Kirk, anything? If not, wrestling, exciting for once.
Yeah, there's been a few things in the last couple nights that have excited a lot of wrestling fans, and it's about time. We haven't had a whole lot to be excited about recently, but we'll see. And I don't think we want to take a deep dive into that, but I will say to Stacking that I think this is, obviously we don't do these as often, nearly as often as we did before, but this is the most that I've genuinely laughed and agreed with a lot of Stacking's points. He's funny and he was accurate with the information.
Coming around.
I think we have really truly officially turned a new leaf. So
we sure have. Sure have. Yes, it was a long time coming, and we're going to keep it going this way.
Put this in a wrestling context. You're both fierce rivals, and now we're starting to putting them together as a tag team for once.
Yeah, very good. And I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to say fuck Kirk Cousins. So there we go.
Amen.
Do a lot of that. We'll see the great season you'll have. So nearly 2 hours in, we'll call it a show. We'll be back maybe here in a couple of weeks, a week or two, do some NFL stuff and week one of college football. So for Charlie, wasn't here, Stacking, Kirk, Travis, and for Amon's expensive meats, his charcuterie plate, and maybe he'll do a podcast with Marcus.
Hey, is the T Steakhouse going to sponsor anything? Charlie's Barbecue?
Maybe Zesto is here in Mitchell. We're looking at some different options.
All right, very good, very good.
So we're in discussions. We'll probably finalize that next week. So,
or you know what? Just make sure My Pillow guy is have him sponsor something from the Corn Palace for us. That would be good.
That'd be good. Standing room only. 286 football preview in the books.